Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today, my guest is all the way from the UK. He's an EDM artist, and I found him recently from his song 28 Days Later. I think during the pandemic, I guess I'm still kind of like obsessed with zombie movies and things, but like I had never seen 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later, which are movies, up until the pandemic. And I became overly obsessed with them. And the first scene in the second movie, which is 28 Weeks Later, is one of my favorite opening scenes of all time. And I had never, I couldn't find any like remix to a song, like to the theme song. And because with all great movies, there's usually like a really dope remix. And I had just never found one for the 28 Days Later. And then about a month ago, I randomly got recommended by YouTube, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Biometrix. And I'm excited to talk to him about that song, his new song he just dropped called Noir, and learn what it's like to be an EDM producer in the UK. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going, Blake? What's
It's
going
going
on, man?
great. So let's just start there. I want to get into like how you got started with music, but honestly, just me like finding you through, I guess, a common love for zombie stuff. How did you come up with the inspiration of making 28 Days Later?
I mean, first of all, I'm actually so glad that you found me that way because that was kind of my plan in the first place. I was like, obviously we've got the EDM listeners, but I'm a
Mhm.
massive fan of movies and particularly soundtracks for films. Ever since I was a kid, I've always like listened to, Hans Zimmer and all my favorite films on repeat, just the soundtracks. So
Yes.
because I sing as well and write my own lyrics and do songwriting and produce, I thought, why not buy the cover license for an amazing soundtrack and then write a song over the top of it.
Wow.
And then maybe I'll also not just attract the EDM fans, but also perhaps be able to find a few new people along the way who share the same love of movies as I do, because I've always been a massive fan of horror movies. And I just think that piece of music is just, I don't know what it is. It's almost like so dark and evil, but also uplifting at the same time. And
Yeah.
that's why I was just like, oh my God, I need to turn that into a record. I had the idea. I actually was a year late on it because I had the idea. Actually, funny you say the pandemic. That was exactly why, because I was doing an Instagram story
Mhm.
during the pandemic, like in town when it was like empty in
Yeah.
London, and that's weird because London is normally, in the center is completely rammed. And I was just like trying to choose the right song for the Instagram story, and I was like, oh, I wonder what the 28 Days Later theme would sound like on this. And then I was like, oh my God. So it did actually start as a pandemic idea, but I only got around to actually doing it. It took me a week to start and finish, but it took me a year to start, if that makes sense.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, so I had a lot of fun making it, but I'm glad it's resonating in the way that I'd hoped.
Hell yeah. There's a few things I want to break down there. First, what is a cover license?
So a cover license is basically when you release a song, like you'll notice now a lot of artists are releasing covers of famous songs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Basically what it means is that you've got the rights to make another version of the song, so you can release it on Spotify, on Amazon, on iTunes, and
Oh.
essentially you can earn the money from people listening on Spotify. You just can't earn the money from the actual song itself, so you can't sell it as your own song, but you can release it and earn money from the streams on the cover, if that makes sense.
Oh, got it.
It's all a bit of a tricky world actually, but it's a recent technology that people have been really jumping on. But no one's ever tried it with a movie soundtrack, so I thought I'd just give it a go, and it worked. So
Damn.
yeah,
So basically, like, because you have the license, you don't get demonetized either then.
base exactly that. Yeah, essentially the money. So it's kind of complicated, but on YouTube, for example, because it's video,
Mm-hmm.
the money would only it's weird how it works, but basically the money would go to the original artist. So it would go to I forgot his name, John. Oh my God, I forgot his name, but John, let's just call him John because I know that's his first name. So it sounds like I know him, right?
Yeah.
I know the money will go to him if he listens on YouTube, but on Spotify, Apple Music, all of the listening streaming services, it would go to me, and then a percentage would go to the original artist. So essentially, it's like free promo for the other artists, and also a bit of an incentive for us to reimagine the tracks.
Wow. Did you when you were creating the song, did you look to see if there were any remixes before? I hadn't found any. I feel like you're probably the first to do it with that song, or what do you think?
Maybe. I mean, there were a few remixes here and there,
Mm.
but none of them were too great. None of them were, none of them. I wasn't getting super excited about any of them. I
Right.
also noticed that the soundtrack itself had been used for a couple of other things as well. Like, I think there was like an anime that used it, and also a video game that used it. So I just thought, when there's not already a massive remix and I'm a massive fan of the track, I was like, right, let's just jump on this and see what happens. But the turnaround on it was crazy because I nearly missed two Halloweens of the idea.
Oh
And
shit.
then like I'd been away at the like a big festival thing and I just got back and my girlfriend was like, it's Halloween in like 5 days. You said you were going to do this 28 days later thing. Have you done it yet? And I was like, no, I haven't started it. She was like, you should probably do it. So between the 5 days before Halloween and Halloween itself, I wrote the vocals, recorded the vocals, mixed, mastered, and released it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish every track was that fast, but that was a special occasion.
Wow. Wait, so you're a machine, man. You said you mix and master and you write and you produce and you sing.
Yeah, I
Wow.
hide away in my room and do a lot of different things, basically.
Dang. So
Yeah,
were you just
so
going to a festival for the heck of it, or were you performing at a festival, or?
it's in Amsterdam. It's called Amsterdam Dance Event. So it's half festival, half conference. It's a bit like Miami Music Week,
Okay.
but the European version. So industry people, labels, producers, promoters, PR people, lots of parties, lots of events, lots of networking, lots of hangovers, and then everyone comes home and takes about a week to recover, unless you're making a Halloween track, in which case you're panicking.
Damn.
so so yeah, it's pretty cool though. It's called ADE, just Amsterdam Dance Event. I go every year. It's just yeah, it's just kind of mandatory at this point when you're in the scene, and it's a great opportunity to see friends from all over the world and just connect up some new collaborations, meet some new singers, some new producers. It's great fun.
That's dope. So what would you say? Would you say you like 28 days later better or 28 weeks better?
What do you mean?
Like
Sorry.
which movie do you like better? The 28 days later movie or the 28 weeks later movie better?
Oh, that's actually quite a tough one because I'm obviously in the process of making the song. I watched them both,
Yeah.
and I don't know actually. I think obviously 28 Days Later is a classic,
Yeah.
especially with the dad and his daughter and the whole journey. But I do think that 28 Weeks Later was a little bit more tense.
Mhm.
So I think as a second movie, it was actually really good. You know how a lot of the time they kind of bum things up a bit on the second film.
Yeah.
But I think both. I love them both, to be honest.
Yeah. I feel that. So when I was looking at your YouTube and stuff, it seems like your music spans back about 11 years. Have you been doing it longer than 11 years, or is that when you
I've
just?
been doing it for a very the biometrics profile. I have been doing for about 11 years. That's pretty spot on, actually. I
Wow.
think. Yeah, nice work. Exactly. Yeah.
Thank
God,
you.
that is crazy, isn't
Thank
it?
you.
But yeah.
So have you done multiple have you just been under Biometrics, or did you have any other artists names you went before that?
No, so I've been doing biometrics has actually been my main music profile for 11 years.
Mm.
It started off actually in the dubstep world.
Okay.
So I started off doing, heavy dubstep stuff. I still do sometimes. But that was back in the day, the golden era of Skrillex in around sort of 2012 sort of time. That was when I started really getting into music because I'm a heavy metal fan as well.
Mm.
And I just, found that type of, I've always been a crazy fan of all electronic music. I mean, I think like the first album I ever bought when I was 10 was a Ministry of Sound album from the bargain bin in some little shop somewhere. And then I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But then I found the dubstep stuff, which was like heavy metal and dance music mixed together. So I started making that in like 2010, 11. Started playing a few festivals. And then the genre itself kind of changed and lost a bit of its spotlight. And I'd already started sort of growing up a bit then as well. So the actual genre itself has really evolved and changed a lot in the last 10 years. But in the process of that, I do actually run another 3 other artists as well. But Biometrix is very much my baby, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Wait. So is EDM and dubstep different, or is it like a subcategory of EDM, or how does that work?
Exactly that. Yeah, it's a subcategory of EDM. It all fall. EDM is a massive world now. I mean, some would say, all house music and even techno would fall under the term EDM as well.
Got
Other
it.
people would disagree. It's all a bit of a weird one, but basically, electronic dance music is what it's evolved into. Dubstep was a subcategory of that. Is a subcategory of that. But I've really evolved the sound a lot now because I've been trying to use my voice more and singing a lot more on my records and working with other people and incorporating a lot more live instruments as well. I've got a live band now as well, which I sometimes use when
That's
I go
so
out and
dope.
play.
Wow.
So yeah, it's fun. I just because I come from a band background as well, I really wanted to make a profile that incorporates the feeling of a live energy, but it's still an electronic act.
Yeah. So what type of
Yeah.
band? So you said you're into heavy metal. Is it a heavy metal band, or what type of band is it?
Oh well, I mean, no, I mean, sorry, the band. I have a band for Biometrics.
Oh,
So when we go out and play live, it's not just DJing. It's we have like a full band lineup. Guitars and drums
oh,
and synths and everything. So well, sometimes there are DJ sets too, but yeah, I just wanted to capture that feeling of a band, but with an electronic artist. If you know
got
what I
it.
mean.
So does an EDM producer have to be a DJ, or like are they the same thing, or are they different?
They go hand in hand, but they are technically different. I mean, the DJing is when you're playing records
Right, right.
live, right? So you're mixing 2 records together, or 4, or as many as you want. Producing is when you make music.
Yeah, 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 true.
So they often go hand in hand. But the general term for a well-known producer is, he's a DJ or a famous DJ or whatever, because that's how they play out, if you know what I mean.
Right. So
So yeah.
how did you get your name, by the way? Biometrics. So because Biometrics is spelled Biometrix, but then the original way, like the medical version is
Yeah.
Biometrics.
See. Yeah, so it was actually, well, years ago we came up with it because the stuff that I was putting out had like a very different sound to a lot of the other stuff in the scene at the time. It still kind of does. So I was kind of trying to think of a word that sounded cool and also suggested, being individual. And I thought, oh, well, biometrics is DNA and it's literally identification of one person. So why not choose that as a name? And then it was actually one of my mates was like, oh, why didn't you put an X on the end, mate? It looks well cool. And I was like, actually, that's not a bad idea, because then it's easier to search for in YouTube and Google as well. So yeah, so that's where it came from, and then the name just kind of stuck.
Damn. So how old were you when you released your first single?
My first ever single, what was I? I think I was 14. That was before Biometrics happened.
Wow.
Do you mean, yeah, before Biometrics happened, I was 14 when I started getting into electronic music. I remember I bought this like 100-pack of blank CDs that were shaped like vinyl records. And I've made this really terrible album. It was like 12 tracks. And you know what it's like when you're young and you're super excited about something and you're just like, this is the best thing ever. And everyone around you is like, yeah, it's great, man. Well done. Yeah.
Damn.
And then I was selling it at college for like £2 an album or something. So that was when was that? Like 2010, I think that was.
Wow. So what'd you go to college for?
I did music at college, and I did a few other subjects as well. I can't even remember what they were, mate, to be honest. Basically, I remember having this moment when I had my exams and I was just making tunes, and my exam was like the next day and I hadn't even started revising. And I just remember being like, oh, that's it. I'm not going to be doing anything else ever, am I? I'm just going to be making music forever.
Wow.
I just remember that. I remember that moment, that one moment where everyone else was panicking about their finals and I was just sitting there chilling, making tunes. Like, this is the best thing ever. So over here we have college and then we have university, which I think you guys call college
Yeah. We
The
have
same as
like,
what we call you.
I think we have like I'm in Seattle, so we have like University of Washington, but I still feel like people call it going to
College.
college. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm talking about the stage just before college. I was
Oh,
gonna I was gonna go and do, because we have like exams before, and then the exam results you get for that determine which college you get into, if you know what I mean.
what? So it's not like
Uh,
so so, and that's universities after high school though, or
yeah.
okay.
Okay. So I guess yeah. So I guess you guys, your high school goes on an extra 2 years to what ours does.
Oh yeah, so we have like
We
4 years of high school, and then you decide what college you want to go to if you go to college.
Yeah, we have this weird period between 16 and 18 years old where you have like a separate education period where you go to another school or stay in the same school and take what we call A levels, um, which are, 4 or 5 subjects that you specialize in, and then
Oh.
the results that you get in that will determine which university you get into.
Oh wow, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit different, but yeah, that was when I was going to go off and do something proper and sensible like English or law or finance or something, and then I was just like, nah, just gonna make music forever, see what
Yeah.
happens.
So you were you
Literally,
so you were like, when did you how old were you when you became biometrics then?
I was 18.
Okay, so you were at university when you decided.
It was just before I started at university. It was about 7 months before.
Got it. And has your so did you drop so you did you graduate from university and college, or did you drop out
I
to
I did. I scraped
Mhm.
through high school, and then which I did fairly well actually. I got away with it. And then I did music at university because I knew that's what I wanted to do. But I actually went to 2 universities because the first I did 1 year at one, and I wasn't inspired. Everyone was a bit lazy,
Yeah.
so I left and then went to another one, and then yeah, I did fairly well there. But again, I was pretty bad at turning up because I was just busy writing and working with other artists, and yeah, that was kind of where it all started, to be honest. Like we did a little mini tour back then, and that was what really kicked things off.
That's
And I had
dope.
a couple of uploads on some big YouTube channels,
Oh
and I
wow.
had like a Coca-Cola used one of my records back then. I think this was coming into what, 2015. They used it for like a Coca-Cola cup over in Poland,
That's
and
so
that
dope.
was what really, yeah, it was really random as well. I just didn't expect it. I was just coming back home one day from a class, and it was like, oh hey, I'm so and so from Coca-Cola, we heard your track and we'd love to use it on this record. I was like, what, no way. So yeah, so that was what really kickstarted things. And then I did the old full-time work thing for a couple of years just to find my feet, because London is not cheap.
I yeah.
I'm sure Seattle's the same.
Yeah. Damn.
um, but I feel like everyone goes through this period after college of just trying to find out who they really are and desperately figure out real life, and all the bills go up and stuff. So I worked in sales. I actually worked for eBay for a couple of years,
Oh wow.
um, doing sales for them. And then I was getting home and working till 1 in the morning, just writing music and trying to line up a career doing this, and eventually took the leap in 2017 just to go full time.
Holy
So
shit.
since then it's just been keeping afloat and enjoying what I do, really.
Damn. So how do you make money as a full-time artist? Is it selling beats, or is it just releasing music, or how does that work for you?
There's a lot of different ways, actually. I mean, technology and the internet now is so good. There's so many ways to make money. You just, I mean, for me, I've been lucky enough to have a bit of a following with the biometrics thing. So one of my most consistent streams of income is from royalties, like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, all of the other ones, Instagram, TikTok, they pay a little bit, Facebook as well. Um, but I also do a bit of ghost production as well, which is writing music for other people where they pay you to say it's theirs, basically.
Yeah.
You've probably heard about that in the industry
Yeah, yeah,
before.
yeah. That's cool.
So yeah, it's good fun actually. It's a nice opportunity to do something different. So I do a bit of that, and I play saxophone as well.
Ooh.
So I do a bit of sort of actual organic stuff as well sometimes, like in just sort of work for hire, and then sometimes I do some just normal production work as well, like producing other artists, working with pop artists over here, um, and then I've got three other aliases as well. So yeah, it's a combination of all sorts of different stuff. So I'm never bored. There's always something to do.
But it's definitely like a full-time thing then, it sounds like.
Fully, yeah. I mean, I'm essentially running about five different projects. If you count Biometrics as one, there's about five that are going on sort of all the time. It's
Shit.
basically spinning as many plates as you can. I'm sure you know how that feels as well if you're doing this as a job too.
Yeah. Damn.
um, yeah, so it's good fun though. I mean, London is pretty unforgiving when it comes to costs. So you just learn to love the chase basically. And you just write me. It's almost like you schedule in writing music like it's a job. You have to force yourself to make a song in a certain amount of time, or by the end of this week I need to have this ready, or I need to send this to someone else by this date. So discipline is a big thing that I'm forever working on.
Right.
Sometimes more successfully than others, but yeah.
So do you need like a management for this, or you do this all independently by yourself, or how does that work for you?
So a lot of people do have managers. I've never had one. I've actually never had a manager, which
Wow.
sometimes I think back on that and I'm like, should I have had a manager? But I mean, I've managed this far, so
Yeah.
maybe I will eventually have a manager. But yeah, usually a manager would sort of handle all of that stuff for you. But I guess I kind of enjoy that part as well because I really enjoy. I just love people. I love meeting people, and I love the whole communication thing. Um, so for now it's working fairly
Yeah.
well, but we'll see. Let's see. Let's see. The more the more responsibility I get, perhaps I will eventually have to find someone. But
Yeah, but that
let's see.
makes sense too. If you're doing so many things at once, like it would honestly, I feel like it would be a little bit scary to like put your faith in someone else to do
Yeah,
it
that's the
correctly.
thing. That's the thing. I've had a couple of offers before, and it's just the fact that suddenly they take a cut of everything that you do,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I've ma- I haven't seen, I haven't had that connection with someone yet who's pitched me, something, their vision that makes me think, oh my God, this is gonna double up on everything that I've been doing. Feel free to take that off me if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like
Um,
in 2017, what made you make that leap to be a full-time artist? Was it like, did you get some crazy festival placement or like?
no, no, I took a real leap. It was more of a regret thing. I just knew that if I got old
Right.
and I hadn't given it a go, at least tried, I would really regret it. And I was like, they offered me a promotion at my job. And it was literally, they sat me down and offered me a promotion. And I was like, oh, do you know what? Like, this is my time. If I don't do it now, I never will.
Yeah.
So I think I was like 23 at the time. So I was just like, nah, I'm like, I've got to take this leap. I was lucky enough that I come from a family of there's quite a lot of creativity in my family. So my older brother is an animator. He does like 3D animation and film, and has worked with some cool people. And he did it before me. My housemate at the time is a professional guitar player. He did it a few months before me, and they all took the leap kind of together. And I could, because I was surrounded by people who were already doing it and already, feeling that nervous excitement of not knowing where the next paycheck's going to come, but doing everything they can to find the next opportunity. It definitely filled me with a bit more confidence. So I was really, really blessed to have that around me, because otherwise I don't know if I would have done it. But I also, it's just something that I always knew was what, it was always my calling. I think I
Yeah.
would have really regretted it if I hadn't. And there are months where you're perhaps a little bit thinner than other months, but on the whole, it's just a much, I'm just so glad I did it, really.
Wow. That's crazy. So that's awesome. They had a supportive like friends and family towards it. I feel like there's certain artists, or even me at times, like my family would be like, it's a passion until you're making a ton of money at it, or it's a hobby until you're making a ton of money at it. It's that's exciting that you had a support system to like just take
It
the leap
did
of faith.
help. It did help, for sure. That helped. I was lucky, but I mean, I still think that even without them, if I didn't have those people around me, I'm sure I would have ended up somehow eventually doing it.
Yeah.
But I just think the average person is always gonna say it's not a job, a passion's not a job until it's earning you money. But if you really want something enough, like, you just owe it to yourself, I think, to at least give it a shot,
Yeah.
or at least, like, maybe not the full-time thing because we always have to pay the rent, but at least
Yeah.
like give it your absolute best shot until you can say you've tried everything.
Yeah, 100%. So you keep talking about like so you live in London, so you're part of and you keep saying the scene. So are you part of like the London music scene, or what is that?
No, when I say the scene, to be honest with you, the music that I do is pretty much non-existent actually here in London.
Really?
No, when I say this, yeah, the scene is more referring to the network of artists and producers who are making that similar style of music,
Mm,
which I don't really know what to call it. It's kind of a fusion of trap and dubstep and future bass and rock,
right.
with a bit of everything rolled into it. I'd say it's just rocky dance music, really. So it's quite a niche sound, but the scene itself is sort of scattered all over the world, which is why things like that Amsterdam event that I was talking about earlier, which is why things like that are a lot of fun, because you can meet people from all over the world and feel like you're a proper community. To be honest, it is a real sense of community because it's quite
Right.
a niche scene. So everyone knows everyone, which is really nice. But London itself is I mean, the music scene is amazing, but it's much more drum and bass, techno, house music, really.
Right. So how do you go about finding your audience then, if it's niche? Like, do you have an audience in London, or just like how the scene you're talking about is all across the world and country? How do you make
It's
a
all
audience?
a promotion. It's all a promotion grind, really. You have to send your track to as many people as you can. Find artists who are similar to you, or a song that you've made that you think is similar to a bigger artist. You go and you find that bigger artist, look at where their music's being played, reach out to the people who are promoting their music, work with other artists who are bigger than you, who can then push your track to new audiences, reach out to influencers, reaching out to playlists, reaching out to blogs. There are platforms as well online that help you to do that.
Hmm.
But a lot of it comes from just being kind of crafty and, like, for example, off the back of the Coca-Cola thing, I was like, suddenly realized that, even though I've been pushing my stuff to music fans, I realized that maybe it works really well over football videos. So I found all the football bloggers on YouTube and started sending my stuff to them. And a couple of people got back out of, I don't know, like 100 emails. So
Wow.
you have to you have to bite into, you have to accept the, sort of 1 in 10 response rate. But once you're past that and you're willing to put in the shift, and you block out a bit of time for self-promotion, it can really work wonders. It's one of those things that feels like it's a waste of time until that one thing comes back and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes so much sense. So, but with
Yeah.
the 28 Days Later song, was that a total like marketing push, or did you just throw it up and hope people connected with it?
I was lucky with that one. I mean, that one was a self-release, so I didn't release that with the label. That was just completely independent release. And well, I just kind of just put it up, but I literally messaged all of the guys that I knew in my circle of
Yeah.
promoters and said, guys, I've got a Halloween track, like literally like 2 days before. I've
Mhm.
got a Halloween track. Do you want to do something with it? And by some miracle, they'd all kept their Halloween day free, because they say every year there's a Halloween track, and this year there wasn't one.
Yeah.
So they were like, that's perfect, we'll take that. And then it just picked up. It's just picking up a lot of like traction online. I did another track in 2020 called Harley Quinn,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was where I sort of started thinking about the idea of doing movie songs, because Sarah De Warren, who is amazing, she sent me her voice on that track because she pitched it for the Harley Quinn film and it basically didn't get a response. So she was like, let's just make our own track out of it.
Yeah.
And then that went viral. I think it's been TikToked about 12,000 times.
Damn.
Um, which is, yeah, for me, that's a lot. I don't know how much that is in the grand scheme of things, but for me, I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." So then I was like, "Oh, well, there's bound to be other fans of this 28 Days Later movie, and the soundtrack's banging. So I'm just gonna make a song out of it." So I've got a couple more like that lined up for this year now as well.
Hell yeah. Wait, so if again with like the community being like online, do you ever like are you in the studio with people ever, or is it all just on your own and just sending tracks back and forth to people?
I try to be in the studio as much as I possibly can with other people, but I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of it is literally writing, either on Zoom or just on your own and sending stems back and forth. A lot of producers operate hugely successful careers just by doing that. But personally, I really love, because I sing and write lyrics as well. I really love being in the studio with people. But because I have, a couple of other artist profiles as well, and I write pop music for other people, like I also put my services out as a writer and a producer just for, bigger artists as a service.
Right.
I'm in the studio a lot, because then what happens is you write a song for someone else, and then maybe that person doesn't take it, and then you've got a song that you can use for yourself or you can give to another person, so yeah, I'm in the studio with people quite a lot around London, and anytime I'm anywhere in the world with some other producers, I'll always try and catch at least a day or two just to write some music down.
Right. So for the UK, is London like the hot spot or the mecca for music, or do people still from the UK have to go to LA and stuff like that, or can you still just be contained in the UK?
I mean, LA is massive too. There's advantages. Each part of I feel like you've got Europe as a whole, which have their own scene, especially Amsterdam and Germany,
Yeah.
especially for the EDM, just the straight up, festival, Tomorrowland, EDM stuff. And then you've got LA is amazing for the more hip hop stuff.
Mm.
The hip hop scene is awesome over there, and also some of the real big, heavy hitting, hard bass music, like some of the heavy dubstep stuff, goes off really well on the West Coast. London itself is a bit of a strange one, because, like I said before, like tech house and techno is massive over here. But I mean, London still gets all of the massive festivals, so there is something for everyone here. But
Right.
in terms of the actual industry and contacts, everyone seems to live either in London or in another little city down south called Bristol, which I love. Which is it's a bit more underground, but there's a real thriving music community down there as well. But there are, the UK has a really diverse British sound as well, which perhaps doesn't travel abroad so much. But
Right.
in terms of the actual UK, there's a lot of stuff here that has a real loyal following in each city. Like we have garage, we have UK bass, a lot of bass line, a lot of drill, which is this new, I don't know if it's across the pond yet, but
Yeah. New
it's
York.
kind of,
New
yeah.
York loves that stuff, drill.
New York, yeah, New York. I've noticed that. I noticed that New York have been jumping on it a little bit actually. So that's, we've got a really, really loyal community here for that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's dope. So for you then, do you still gig a lot when you're making your music, or how does that work for you?
I used to do a lot more shows than I have done recently, actually. It's been, obviously, with the pandemic and everything, it's been a bit of a reality check for everyone, I think. So I resorted to, I was playing a lot more shows, sort of 2018, sort of up to about 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
Obviously, 2020 things shut down, and I just really ramped up the output of music. So I just really pushed making new songs, which eventually evolved into, a bigger following. And now that things are opening up again, the plan will be to start playing shows again.
Right.
But I want to do it a bit differently. I want to put together a lot more content and stuff online, so people
Yeah.
can see more what to expect.
Wait. So what's it like being like an independent artist then during the pandemic? Like, has it been mostly positive for you, or has it been pretty difficult, or?
I've been lucky. I lost all my shows, obviously,
Yeah.
as everyone did. I think I lost about 26 shows.
Damn.
Yeah, but I can't. I've got to say, like, I was very blessed to have, because of my services as a producer, and also just the people around me and the Biometrix profile. I was, we all everyone went into panic mode and work mode, And because we all went into it at the same time, everyone was collaborating, everyone was releasing, all the labels were very active. Everyone was so active and working so hard to compensate for the anxiety and the lack of money.
Yeah.
That it kind of bounced back in a way. So I actually did fairly well. I did fairly well because I was just focusing purely on online. I was focusing purely on online revenue. So, what happened was a lot of the clients who I work with the Ghost production as well, they were at home because they weren't in the office, so they had the time, and they were like, now's the time to build my project. So I had a lot of that work coming in as well. So yeah, overall it was fairly positive for me, minus the shows, but
yeah,
we all went through that, didn't we?
Yeah. Wait, so did you grow up in London, or did you move to London?
I grew up actually from all over, really. I was actually born in Canada, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And I was born in Ontario, and then I moved to Australia for a bit, for a couple of complete flip. Moved to Australia when I was tiny, then moved to Scotland in the UK, and then moved right down to the very bottom of the UK, and then eventually moved to London when I was 18.
Oh, shoot. That's all before you're 18?
Yeah, that was all before I was 18. Yeah, my family liked to buy and sell houses. That was kind of one of their main sources of income. So,
wow.
So yeah.
Do you feel well traveled then? Do you feel like you can connect with people from all over?
I feel like I enjoy trying to connect with people from all over. Whether or not it always goes well is a different thing. But I definitely haven't done enough traveling. I'll always say that, right? But yeah. I love to see other parts of the world, especially for music as well. Like there's just musically some, going to places like India or Turkey or Cuba or Brazil just seems so amazing for inspiration for all types of music, because you can draw on the world music stuff and then bring it into what you're doing.
Yeah. Wait, so is the UK open yet with COVID, or is it still? Are there still any lockdowns or anything?
It is. It actually is. Actually 2 weeks ago, we were one of the first countries in the world to say you don't need to isolate if you've got COVID.
Wow.
So I guess that means it's over here, really.
Dang.
Finally.
Wait, I think I don't know if this is true or not, but didn't the Queen just get COVID or something?
She did.
Oh.
Bad timing. I know. Poor Elizabeth, bless her. I know, but she did. She got COVID recently, but apparently she's okay.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know.
I definitely think that that new Omicron thing has made it less of a bad disease, basically.
Yeah. So, what are your opinions? You being in media, what are your opinions on like Meghan and Harry leaving and moving to the US?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that it was kind of unnecessary how they did it, personally.
Right.
I think fair enough. Like I think Harry's always been he's never been a natural royal style. He never lived a natural style of royal life. He's always been the cool guy. He's just got a bit more. He shows much more personality than he should. And to be honest, I've always thought that was amazing. I've loved that about him. But I do think that the whole dynamic that him and Meghan started portraying towards the royal family was blown out of proportion a bit. I don't know if it was them directly or whether it was just the way the media caught what they said, but I think it was people just got really triggered really fast, and I think it was unnecessary, personally. What about you?
I haven't really followed it too much, like I think it's I've just heard like meme stuff, or I watched the Oprah interview and things like that. But overall, though, I don't know. Like I just think it's interesting that people like, it's always like the grass is greener on the other side, but like when you're actually born royal, that's fucking insane to actually be born into that amount of wealth, but then still want to be seen as someone kind of like in entertainment, because I think they have like a Netflix deal now and things like that. Like it's so interesting to see like they can still have it all if they want.
Kind of, yeah. I think. Have you watched the Crown on Netflix?
I have not. For some reason, I am so uninterested in like medieval things or anything that has to do with like princess. Yeah, I guess The Crown's not medieval, but anything that has to do with like princesses or anything like.
Yeah.
I'm just not
What are
into.
you into then? You're into horror movies, right?
I'm into horror movies for sure. I'm really
Let's
into
talk.
like.
Let's talk horror. Let's talk horror, man. Like I'm a
Okay.
big fan too. Like what are you into? Give me some of your faves.
Shit, that's a hard one. Fuck.
I'm flipping this podcast around now.
Hell yeah.
No,
I've been overly obsessed with like zombie movies lately, but I'm still very picky too. Like, ooh, like have you seen like? Do you have Netflix?
I do, yeah.
Have you seen like Black Summer on?
No, is that the one? That is a zombie movie, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a zombie TV show. Like I think in my opinion, zombie shows or movies have to be portrayed in a specific way. Like you want to get attached to the characters, and then for me at least, I don't want it to be predictable, but I expect it to be like everyone's gonna die. You know what I mean? Because it's like no one realistically is gonna survive a zombie apocalypse. You know?
No.
Like that's what happened with The Walking Dead. Like I really enjoyed The Walking Dead until it kept going on. You're like, these guys are all still alive, and now they're coming up with these like terrible villains. But like horror movies for sure. But also like I don't know, horror movie. All these movies lately, even like horror movies, are becoming woke. So, and like how
so true,
like
so true.
It's just
so
like it's just so weird. Like I have no problem with I can't say I don't have a problem with wokeness, but I appreciate the sentiment of wokeness, right?
It's just sometimes unnecessarily force-fed, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You know, so I have just been more into early like 2000 movies. I like the grudginess of them all, and like even like I don't know. For example, like I thought they were gonna do justice with the new James Bond and the new Matrix, and those both just became very woke movies. And I'm like,
the new Matrix. I didn't even bother watching it just because I heard so many people crying about it.
It was so bad. And like for example, like I think there's a case. I think the best movies nowadays, especially when it comes to horror, are the ones that have like little budget or like independent a little bit. Or
it's totally true. I feel like in horror movies, I mean, I'm a massive, as I said, like huge fan of horror movies.
Yeah.
And for me, the ones that really, you know, I like the ones that really. I'm not so much into just straight up gore. I mean, I do love a zombie movie, but the ones that really get it for me are the psychological ones.
Yes.
And generally, the psychological ones that are done really well are the ones where you barely see, if at all, see the actual bad guy. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just all done on tension and angles and suspense and almost like fear of what isn't there as opposed to what you can see in front of you, which I think is just that's why I love them, because I think it's really hard to actually scare someone. Yes. We've seen it all before, you know.
That's why it's called horror movies and not scary movies, because scary is all up to opinion.
Totally. Yeah, it's totally subjective, isn't it?
But one thing I will say is it's a sad moment in history if you're debating on whether or not to see the new Chainsaw Massacre. Like it just dropped on Netflix, and I'm like, there's a chance that it's just gonna somehow be super woke, and then it's gonna come out that the Leatherface is like a transgender or something. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine?
Like I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing wrong with transgenders or anything like that. Like I've had transgender people on the podcast. Even it's just like you expect one thing and then to just completely flip because they're doing that with like movies that have been around for decades, and they're just changing like who the fundamental character person, like who the fundamental who the character
the main character
is fundamentally. You know what I mean? So
that's so funny. I just got this image in my head of Leatherface having an epiphany and just suddenly becoming vegan and just chainsawing vegetable fields, you know?
Yeah, see, like
Can you
that's not too out of the
Texas vegan massacre.
It's not too out there. Or like even like there's nothing wrong with this either, but like still like, have you seen the new Chucky TV show?
I haven't, no.
Like everyone turns out to like Chucky comes out as like bi, and then the main character is like I think he's like 14 something. He comes out as like gay, and like it's like there's nothing wrong with that, but like everything has changed into this thing where it's you have to force that it's who they are as a character.
Yeah. No, I mean It is. I get why they're making such a big thing of it, because accept the acceptance, it should be there, and I still think we've got a bit of a
Yeah,
way to go with that.
100%.
But I so do know what you mean. It almost feels like it's more offensive because it's forced in,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it feels like. I mean, I've heard a lot of people actually find that offensive. People who are involved in some of these communities and stuff. It's more offensive because it's like, we did this, so we've made a thing of it, and it's just, sometimes it doesn't feel natural when you just shove a bit of a bit of wokeness in whatever shape or form.
Yes.
Definitely agree with you, man.
100%. But like, I don't know, like, have you seen there's some movies I like that came out in the past year or two. Like, have you seen The Hunt?
No, I
Oh,
haven't. No, is it
that was
good?
such a good one. It's like
Really?
a it's like a comedic horror movie where it's like this like old family, like royal. I don't even know if they're royal, but there's just a very like billionaire family. What they like to do is play like hide and seek, and then like whenever someone brings in like a new boyfriend or girlfriend or fiance, they include them in the game, and if they survive, then they can get married, and if not, then the
What the
game
hell?
just yeah,
Talk about being nervous about meeting the parents.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's it's
literally.
it was really cool. But yeah, man. So what is the how does it what is the progression of being like an EDM artist? So for you, for example, I've seen that you've been doing it for over 11 years. You've got some cool placements like the Coca-Cola thing. I think you've solely dropped singles from what I can
Uh,
tell.
pretty much, yeah. Pretty
So
much.
what is the progression? Like, is there a do you do you make music until a specific single pops, or is it do you wait to collab with a specific artist, or how does that work to get to the next
It's
stage or progression?
consistency. Consistency is literally it, and then all the rest kind of follows. You just have to keep making music,
Mm,
keep putting music out, and keep sending it to as many people as you can. People say, quality over quantity, and that is true, but nowadays it's quality in quantity. It's a shame, but it's true.
yeah,
You just keep writing, you keep writing, you keep writing, you keep trusting yourself, you keep writing, you keep sending out to people, and then you start meeting people along the way. You reach out if you're touched by a song or you're connected to a song by someone else. Hit them up, message them. If they reply, then great, then they might be open to working with you, and collaborating is great because it's half the work for double the exposure. But the general progression is you just have to keep writing and keep sending your stuff out, and eventually a label might listen to your record, or you might catch the attention of someone big through another artist that you've worked with in the past. And then you'll get known as the guy who's also released with that person or with that label, and then all of their contacts will know who you are.
right,
It's like a combination of consistency and network.
got it. So are you someone that's looking to eventually get picked up by a label, or because you've been doing it so independent for so long, is that something that even intrigues you?
It's a bit of both, really. I personally, at the moment, with as many people as I can, I'm trying to shout independent all the way,
Yeah,
because you just hold so much more control, and you've got so much more creative freedom that way. Obviously, it also means you're probably going to get much less plays,
mm,
but you'll get 100% of the money. You know what's weird is I've got for example, that Harley Quinn record, I've got like a fairly small percentage on that, and that gets over it's still getting about 300,000, 400,000 plays a month on Spotify.
yeah,
And what's mad is that a self-release that I've released myself, just something that I've put out, no label, that's getting 40,000 plays a month,
yeah.
is paying me more money than the Harley Quinn record, which is getting, a couple over 200,000 a month. So
Wow.
independence has its wins as well, as long as you're consistent with it. But it's kind of, I don't think I'll ever sign. I don't think I'll ever want to sign like a massive label deal. I'd love to collaborate with some massive artists and do some tours and work with some of my favorite bands
Hmm.
and musicians. But I don't think I'll ever sign like a Sony or Universal deal
Right.
as we know it right now, just because I'd say I'm more of a behind the scenes guy if it comes to something like that. I'd rather do everything case by case.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they just rip you off, man. It's not worth it. Like, you know, you get stars in your eyes because they say, oh, we're going to give you like $1 million advance, and everyone's like, that sounds amazing, but what you don't realize is it's a $1 million advance that you pay 20% to your management, 50% to the label, you pay for press costs, you recoup their marketing costs, and then you're left with what, like 60 grand, 70 grand. Do you know what I mean? It's like it all adds up. So yeah, there's always a subtext to everything.
Yeah. So you just dropped a new single. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I dropped it's called Runaway with Becco, who's an Italian rock artist and singer, producer and singer. He's amazing. He's crazy anime metal guy. So that happened because a US-based label called Fixed reached out to me, which is owned by an artist called Cell Dweller, who I was a fan of for years when I was younger. They just started they basically did a compilation called Noir, which is a combination of like all of, you know, a bunch of hard-hitting EDM records.
Mm-hmm.
And they set me up with Becco to work with him on the track. And yeah, that was like a proper face melting power record that we just decided to write, like sort of pulling on the old emo heartstrings. You know how like everyone used to love emo music in the 2000s. We wanted to kind of bring that back in a new way.
Yeah.
So that's what that record was for, which was a lot of fun.
That's dope.
Yeah, and I've got another one dropping on Friday actually called Play-Doh, which I'm really excited about.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Which is I called it Play-Doh, which is actually about what we just spoke about, which is it's about how the industry tries to control people.
Yeah.
Which is why I called it Play-Doh. So that's gonna be cool.
And is there any featured on that, or is it you solely, or how's that work?
That's just a solo release. That's got me on singing and on the vocals as well.
Hell yeah, man.
One.
That's
yeah,
super
I'm excited
exciting.
for that one. It's a bit less in your face, a bit more like chilled, which is gonna be cool.
Yeah, man, that's super dope. Well,
thanks, man.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I'm definitely a fan. I definitely went through your entire catalog, watched
Did
some
you?
of your YouTube videos. I saw your DJ set you did from home. Like I've checked out your stuff.
Yeah, what, the one with Adam, the guitarist.
Yeah, I checked out your stuff, cool. My guy.
Oh man, yeah. What did you think of the live show?
That was dope. That was actually really cool. I think things like that are very important, and I think it also showcases that you know how to do things like independently. You know.
Yeah.
It was dope.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Any favorite records?
I am the worst with title tracks. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I kind of put you on the spot there a bit, haven't I?
I'm terrible with title tracks.
Yeah.
But I've listened to front and back your entire catalog. That's how I knew you. That's how I knew you don't have any albums out. It was like all just single. It was it's also really cool. I don't know if people really geek out about it, but like, so I use YouTube Music as well as Spotify, and depending on the platform, different audiences will like one song more than another. For example, on YouTube, like your biggest song is the 28 Days Later, but then on Spotify it's the Harley Quinn song. So it's just cool to see like how different platforms attract different audiences. Things
both
like that.
Movie songs.
Yeah, there we go. You're onto something there.
I'm onto something there. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing that.
Hell yeah. Well,
I do have a plan. I mean, I am putting together an album at the moment as well.
Ooh.
But that will be ready in early 2023. So it's going to be singles until then, and then beginning of next year, I'm going to drop a full album. Hell
yeah, man! Is that a little nerve-wracking?
Yeah, but I'm also sort of just trusting in the fact that if I keep writing at the pace that I'm writing now, by the end of the year, hopefully I'll be able to be confident in having, you know, sort of 10 to 12 tracks that I'm really proud of. But let's see, you know, touch wood, let's see. I don't know what's going to happen. We never know, but that's the plan.
And we gotta do you gotta do a little tour with that, and you have to come to the U.S. and then you can come in the
I'd love
studio.
to. I'll come up and say hi up in Seattle. We can do a proper in-person one where I've got a better microphone.
Yeah, no, you're sounding pretty clear. I'm gotta say, man, you're sounding pretty clear. But
Nice.
yeah,
Good old Zoom audio. We love it, don't we?
hell yeah. So what is some final advice that you have for up and coming artists, creators, influencers?
Don't be afraid to try new things. I think is a big one. Trust your innovation is one thing, and trust yourself, because I think it's for me that's one of the biggest things that I keep coming back to and keep changing. And it sounds really generic and obvious, but honestly, like with social media, you'll compare in every industry and everything that you do, especially if you're running an independent operation, like any form of creative or freelance. You're always comparing yourself to the person who's doing better than you, or perhaps it's someone who's at the same level as you and they've had a better month than you or a better couple of months. And it's very easy to think, oh, like I should do more like what they're doing, or everyone else is doing this and it's doing really well, maybe I shouldn't keep doing what I'm doing. But honestly, just stay in the game and keep trusting yourself. That's it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest will come as you learn. Obviously you can't be completely inaccessible, but like don't conform straight away, because I think that can also like cut the length of what you're doing. It will stop people coming to you for what you do.
Yeah, 100%. And
I'd say that.
What is the easiest way for people to reach you?
Reach me if you want to get in touch with me personally, then you can hit me up on Instagram, which is Biometrix UK. Otherwise you can check me out on Spotify and Apple Music, and YouTube. So whichever music source you like best, you'll find me on there.
Hell yeah. This has been the NAST podcast with
Biometrix. Nice one.
And we did it.